Greetings everyone, my name is Dominic and today you're tuning in to the Comic Book Report, where we review comic books and graphic novels so you can get an idea of what to read. And at long last, I'm here to present the most requested video I've ever had on this channel. That's right, we're finally doing a comic book collection room tour video. Here we are. I hope you're excited. I was a little bit nervous to do this, but we're going to go ahead and go through all of the comics I currently have in my collection, single issues, and various kinds of collected editions. Please enjoy, and thank you for your patience. To kick off, I thought I'd just give you a layout of this room. So this is half of my bedroom that I of course share with my beloved wife, and I basically have 3 different sections of books, 2 tall bookcases, and then 2 smaller, more square-like bookcases in my closet. We'll be looking through these sections throughout the course of this video. Without further ado, we'll go ahead and start with the books in my closet. These are all Marvel Omnibus editions, and if you're wondering, the organization system here might not make sense to anyone other than myself, but it all kind of gels until the point where there's really no organization and I'm just kind of throwing books up. While we're in here, I thought I'd also tour around some of the other things I have in this closet. We of course have my cheap ring light / tripod that I use to film most of my videos, and we also have of course my piece of black vinyl fabric I picked up from a hobby shop that I also film pretty much all of my videos against, if you've been wondering. I have a couple cool like Marvel and DC comic history books up here. I do have a couple more. I'm not really sure what I do with the other ones, but I also have a couple things up here just for utility because after all it is still my closet. I also have a cool art print of Batman from Ken Lashley, and also my microphone that I use to do the audio and voiceover for pretty much all my videos as well. Over here in the corner by my single issue comics, I have some packing material and the only 2 slabbed books I have in my collection. I got both of these as giveaway prizes, I think on YouTube videos years and years ago. Anyway, they also live up here. And you know, while we're in this closet and while we're talking about single issues, I think I'll go ahead and pull my box down, my one little short box here, and we'll go ahead and go through my single issue comic collection. So I keep all my single issues in this cool kind of fabric short box that has this little Velcro strip. I have a little Sharpie in there for marking different things. Anyway, I've showed this before, but it just lives on the top of my closet. I am mostly a comic collected edition kind of guy, but every so often and over the years, especially Free Comic Book Day, I end up acquiring more single issues. Okay, let's go ahead and see what's currently in here. I do have some superhero-related stickers that like to live in here. After that, I have a couple issues that I put in the comic capsules I got from the guys at Comic Capsules, at least the actual capsules, not the issues themselves. One of the issues is a signed Junkyard Joe issue from Jeff Johns, very cool. I got a Daredevil issue, a Punisher 2099 issue if I'm not mistaken, a couple others. Then I have some kind of blank, just boards, miscellaneous little things that have made their way into my little short box. After that, we do get into the meat of my single issue comic book collection. I'm not going to talk about every single issue I flip through here, but I just wanted to kind of demonstrate what is in here just so you can take a look. Shout out though if there is something in here that you like or that you've read before, that could be kind of fun. But in general, a lot of my collection is just free comic issues I've gotten over the years, whether they were from giveaways or people in my life, or many from Free Comic Book Days from the years previous. A couple of Batman Day free issues I've picked up. My brother at a swap meet got the first, I don't know, dozen or 2 issues of Punisher 2099, so I have the first, again, like maybe 20-something issues of that run, unbroken sequentially. My brother gave it to me a while back because he didn't really have use for them anymore. Thought they looked cool, so I also have a ton of those just sort of in here. A couple special like Spider-Man issues that I've won in giveaways, another signed Junkyard Joe issue. But yeah, this is really fun. This is, again, I kind of picked it up over the years. I never really planned on collecting single issues. I think for me that largely stemmed from this idea that in modern comics in particular, it's really hard to get a single story in a single issue. That was much more common in like the Silver Age of comics, where you can buy one single issue comic book and get a full story beginning, middle, and end. Now so many stories are serialized, and I do love that and in many ways prefer that for most subject matter, but it's harder to get a full complete story in a single issue, and I like getting a full story when I get a book. That's ultimately what made my decision for collected edition all those years ago, and in some ways It's definitely cost effective as well. But again, I still have a lot of love for single issues. That's why I have some collected here. And, I'm probably going to acquire some more over the years. And I thought when I'm doing a collection tour video, it would have been a mistake to leave this part out of the video. So here it is. I hope you enjoy. You'll have to let me know in the comments if you are a single issue comic collector. Do you do that with collected editions? Are you one or the other? I'm always curious about stuff like that. Okay, and after I make my way to the end of this little short box, we'll go ahead and get this all wrapped up, and we'll go back to kind of the meat of the collection here in the closet, which is the beginning of my Marvel Omnibus collection. I do think that a lot of my viewership is probably interested in these collected editions, so the remainder of this video is, you guessed it, exclusively collected edition. So how I've decided to shoot this is essentially to go row by row doing a panning shot so everyone can get a good look at what's on the row of comics, and then try to do it kind of cubby by cubby, again just to get an idea of what is on my shelves. I debated whether I wanted to pull some out and maybe do some flip throughs, but I thought I would keep this kind of purely a collection video. If you would like to see any of the books here in this video in greater detail, let me know. Maybe I can do a review or put it on a list video or at least a short or something like that. I'm happy to go through this collection more with people that are interested, but I did want to keep it mostly about the collection as a whole, and so yeah, here we are, and we are going to start with Spider-Man. In many ways, he was my first favorite Marvel superhero. When I think about Marvel Comics, I do still think about Spider-Man as the flagship character, so when I lined up my collection, I of course had to start with The Amazing Spider-Man. Starting off, I have the first 5 volumes of the Amazing Spider-Man Omnibus line, and the Peter Parker Spectacular Spider-Man Omnibus Volume 1. So that's all my early Spidey stuff, and then we go into the sort of 80s and 90s era. So we have Roger Stern, we have the black costume suit era, then the just large David Miscellany era with some great artists like Todd McFarlane, Eric Larson, and Mark Bagley. Also have that tiny adjectiveless Spider-Man era omnibus from Todd McFarlane. After that, we go into my Clone Saga cube. This is a really beloved era for me. I know it's super polarizing, but I have all 4 omnibuses that collect this kind of early 90s era. After that, my last little cubby in this first row, we have the entire JMS Spider-Man, the Brand New Day Omnibus Volume 1, which picks up right after the JMS era. I also threw up the Superior Spider-Man Omnibus and the Spider-Verse Spider-Geddon Omnibus in this cubby. Now our scan of the next row, we have the rest of my Spider-Man omnibuses, trying to be in chronological order. Then we go ahead and jump into the Ultimate Universe. I have that full run, followed by kind of the Miles Morales omnibuses. Then I go into Spider-Gwen or Ghost Spider, Spider-Man 2099, Miguel O'Hara, of course, Venom, and then rounding out this shelf, I do have the beginning of my Fantastic Four omnibus collection. I know my organization might be a little bit odd, but I thought about some of my favorite early Marvel comics. I think Amazing Spider-Man, and I think Fantastic Four. So I went Spider-Man, Spider-Adjacent, and then Fantastic Four. Again, that's the weird rationale in my brain, but that's why it's organized like this. Anyway, let's go ahead and look through the cubbies again. So these are some of the omnibuses I was just showing. I know I recently read that Zdarsky Spider-Man book. So much fun. It has his run on Spectacular Spider-Man and some mini-series or maxi-series like Life Story and Spider Shadow. The Ultimate Spider-Man run by Bendis is some of my favorite comics of all time. This run is absolutely amazing. Both the Peter Parker stuff and the Miles Morales stuff, all just incredible. And to have it all in this oversized omnibus format, it's a real dream. I should probably say, if you're interested, I just recently read and reviewed that Miles Morales by Saladin Ahmed omnibus, so definitely check it out on my channel if you'd like to see more on that. Okay, the next 2 cubbies here, we have Spider-Gwen, the Ghost Spider. I am still delving into this. I am in the Volume 1. I think the art direction is absolutely just inspired. It's so amazing. It's a huge draw for me with that run. I'm also hoping to finish Spider-Man 2099 Omnibus Volume 1 as soon as I can in 2025. I've been slowly making my way through that book all year. I've been really enjoying it. It's just a slower read for me, so I am hoping to finish that out. The Spider-Man vs. Venom Omni is really fun, as are some of these other Venom omnibuses, the Venom by Cates in particular. And because I didn't get to start talking about Fantastic Four, I will say this whole next row, mostly Fantastic Four centric, followed by Fantastic Four adjacent like The Thing and Silver Surfer, and then I spill over into the beginning of my X-Men Omnibus collection. This is a really fun row. I am a huge fan of both of these teams, the Fantastic Four and X-Men respectively. I don't know why I jumped from Fantastic Four to X-Men in my organization, perhaps because I have a lot of these titles in omnibus format, and I wanted to knock those out on my shelf shelves before I got into the kind of smaller single volume kind of omnibuses in the collection. As I begin to discuss Fantastic Four, I've said it before on the channel, but I'll say it again here. My favorite Silver Age comics of all time are Amazing Spider-Man and Fantastic Four. I think they started as some of the strongest series, and they really still hold up, which is why I have so much of it in omnibus format. After that Stan Lee, Jack Kirby run in the Silver Age, I do have the full John Byrne era of Fantastic Four, followed by the Wade Waringo run, the stuff by Mark Millar and Hitch, Hickman, Fraction, and of course the John Byrne Thing era, and all of my Silver Surfer omnis. Anytime I have a moment to talk about the Silver Surfer, well, that's a really good moment to have. Alright, and after that kind of greater Fantastic Four section, we delve straight into the world of the X-Men. I do have the first 2 volumes of that Silver Age era, after which we go ahead and become the Uncanny X-Men omnibuses. I have the first 5 volumes of that, followed by a lot of these kind of event omnibuses like Mutant Massacre and Fall of the Mutants. I do also have that Ed Piskor X-Men Grand Design omnibus, which is kind of a cool recap of some of that earlier X-Men stuff. And I end the row with modern like Onslaught, New X-Men, and Astonishing X-Men. And finally, the last row on my closet books, we have the latest X-Men omnibus I have in the collection, followed by my X-Men adjacent books like Excalibur, New Mutants, Uncanny X-Force, and so on and so on. This row also kind of goes into the sort of random one-off kind of omnibuses I have. I think I even have like the Adam Warlock omnibus on this shelf. So our organization starts to break down here, as you'll see, but still want to talk about these books in the collection, of course. I have my Bronze Age Luke Cage and Iron Fist omnibuses that you'll see. I did reviews for those on the channel some time ago. I got Power Pack, which was donated from a great viewer. Thanks again. I got my Iron Man omnibuses in here, even Micronauts. And at the front of the row, of course, we also have X Factor. Can't believe I didn't say that earlier. Good stuff. Okay, spending a little time on these first couple cubbies, we have the Hickman era X-Men from Krakoa in that omnibus format. Then I have the first 2 New Mutant volumes. I know there's a 3rd volume, do not have it. Have the Captain Britain omnibus that I decided to put before the first 2 Excalibur omnis. Again, I don't have volume 3. Then I go to do the X Factor by Peter David run, both his 90s stuff and then his early 2000s stuff, and round out this row with Uncanny X-Force, which was my most anticipated book of 2024. These are all great mutant-based hero teams, and of course Captain Britain, which again is part of Excalibur. For the last 2 cubbies, let me go ahead and turn on the flash so you can see a little bit better over here. Cable and Deadpool, or Deadpool and Cable, a fantastic run. I threw in Alpha Flight on this row. I think that's mutant adjacent. We have Luke Cage, my Iron Fist stuff, my Iron Man omnibuses, including a long out-of-print omnibus. I do also have my only Hulk omnibus in the form of the Incredible Hulk Omnibus Volume 1, that Power Pack book I mentioned, the Adam Warlock omnibus, and rounding out the closet books, I do have the Micronauts Omnibus Volume 1. Okay, and those are all of the books in my closet. To round out this section, I thought I'd do one final look at the back half of the cubbies that were in the darker portion. I have a little bit better lighting this time. I'll go ahead and light them a bit better and give you all one more quick look. Again, these are some of my favorite Marvel omnibuses, or some of the first kind of superhero characters that come to my mind when I think Marvel. Again, predominantly following around Spider-Man, Fantastic Four, and X-Men. My favorite superhero isn't even on this bookcase. That's Daredevil. He comes in a little bit later. But again, that's kind of where I went when I first organized it, and here we are. Let's go ahead and transition to my next bookcase and keep this collection tour going. Okay, and here's my next bookcase that stands right in front of my closet. This is the remainder of my Marvel Omnibus collection, and then we do transition over into the DC Omnibuses, which my collection at this point is quite a bit smaller, as you'll see, and then the bottom of the bookshelf goes into some of my indie sort of hardcover collections, especially those coming from Image Comics. This is a really fun bookcase. I really do like this. I like that it's not really segmented. We just have these nice long shelves to just store a bunch of omnibuses in this case. And just like the last portion of this video, I will now go row by row through the collection. Okay, for the first row of this shelf, we begin with Captain America. I'm not really sure why I started with Captain America. It seemed like a good idea. I do have all 5 of the Ed Brubaker omnibuses. Then I go into Rick Remender and some of the other modern Captain America writers like Ta-Nehisi Coates, Nick Spencer, and then I also have on this shelf all of my Wolverine omnibuses. Yes, they probably should have gone by the mutant section, not really sure why they're out here, but I have the first 5 volumes of the Wolverine omnibuses. I have Wolverine and the X-Men, and then I go into X-23, all new Wolverine, things like that. I should say as well, I do buy and sell comics with some frequency, so I did used to have other comics in this collection that are no longer present. Moment of silence for my Mark Millar Wolverine Omnibus while we transition to the next row. So this second row on this bookcase really comprises my Avengers Omnibus collection and my Daredevil Omnis. I do have the first 5 volumes of the proper Avengers run from the Silver Age, then I do have the full Hickman Avengers era, followed by the Ultimates, which is the Ultimate Universe Avengers book. After that we spill over into Daredevil. I have that first Silver Age Omni, I do have the Frank Miller era, then I go into the more modern stuff with the first Bendis, the Brubaker stuff. Yes, I even have Shadowland, Mark Waid, and the beginning of Zdarsky. A couple holes I'm hoping to fill in as more books come out or get reprinted, but I am quite happy with the Avengers and Daredevil books I now have in this format. Transitioning to the third row now, I do have my Thor omnibuses. Currently I have the first Mighty Thor omnibus from the Silver Age. I do have the reprint of the Thor by Walter Simonson omnibus, both volumes of the Jason Aaron run, and then I spill over into Black Panther, have his early years stuff, followed by the Ta-Nehisi Coates run, and that World of Wakanda omnibus, which was donated by a viewer, thanks again. Then I have my 4 current Moon Knight omnibuses, really fun getting into this character recently, and then I actually have 4 Captain Marvel omnibuses, which was kind of a surprise. I cannot believe I have so many for Captain Marvel. Although I should say that is Mar-Vell, Janice Vell, and Carol Danvers Captain Marvel, so we get a lot of variety there. This next row just has a lot of fun one-shots and variety. This is the end of my Marvel Omnibus collection. So I have Hickman's Secret Warriors, randomly have Jed MacKay's Black Cat. I have some of my funny Marvel books like Howard the Duck, Gwenpool, Squirrel Girl, a couple sci-fi books like Guardians of the Galaxy and Star Wars by Jason Aaron. Then I have some Marvel events, Secret Wars, Annihilation, House of M, Avengers vs. X-Men, and then I do finally transition into my DC Omnibus collection, which I thought a perfect bridger would be the DC versus Marvel Omnibus, which I recently got in for the collection. And then of course I start with Batman, with the Batman by Jeff Loeb and Tim Sale, and the beginning of the Scott Snyder Greg Capullo run. My next shelf here is my only full shelf of DC Omnis. We have the back half of Snyder Capullo's Batman, followed by the Tomasi Gleason Batman and Robin, have Batman and Robin Eternal, which was also donated, thanks again. I have the Batman Detective Comics Omnibus from James Tynion IV, The Rise and Fall of the Batman. I do have that Detective Comics Omni from Peter J. Tomasi. Then I have the Batman Black and White, Grayson, Batgirl, my Superman Omnis with the Exile, Death and Return of Superman, and Superman by Tomasi Gleason, and rounding out the aisle we do have Flash by Mark Waid Volume 1 and Secret 6 by Gail Simone. Really fun book, that one. I did review that recently on the channel a couple months ago. Okay, and rounding out this bookcase in the final row, we do have the Justice League New 52 Omnibus, Volume 1 and 2. I have the Swamp Thing New 52 Omnibus, really love that run as well. I have some DC event omnibuses like Infinite Crisis and 52, and my final DC omnibus here, the Planetary Omnibus, which was initially a Wildstorm book. After that, we do transition to some of my indie deluxe editions from Image. We have the 12-volume Ultimate Collection of Invincible by Robert Kirkman, very good stuff. And rounding out this bookcase, we have Firepower, Book 1 and 2 from Robert Kirkman and Chris Samney. Recently finished out that series as well. You can find a review for Book 2 on the channel not too long ago. And with that, we can go ahead and transition to the final bookcase in my comic book collection. Alright, and we made it to the final bookcase in my comic book collection tour, and this is where my organization completely falls apart. I do apologize. This is largely trade paperbacks, standard size hardcovers, oversized hardcovers, and just a total miscellany mix and match kind of bookshelf here. It starts vaguely indie and then goes kind of into DC Marvel, and it just kind of ends up all over the place. Again, this is my most mixed up shelf. It's definitely not organized, but I thought it was still better to present this video, even if I didn't have everything perfectly lined up how I hoped to. And in case you were wondering a moment ago, yes, those were Christmas lights. And I thought it was worth mentioning, I did reorganize my bookcases, and somehow I didn't have enough room for this book anymore. This is Bone by Jeff Smith. It's just hanging out on my top shelf, gonna go ahead and remove it for the sake of the tour. Also, fun fact about me, I usually read a dozen or so comics at once, so I always keep some bookmarks handy in the form of 3x5 cards, which also like to live up here. Okay, now let's go ahead and go row by row as I've done with previous bookcases. At this point though, I'm not going to mention every single book in this shelf because there's just so many at this point with all these trade paperbacks. But these are a lot of my oversized hardcover editions from Boom Studios. Thank you, Boom. A couple image oversized still, like Skyward, 8 Billion Genies, Morning Glories, some series I really like. I got the book from Fantagraphics, Donald Duck, thank you. And then a ton of Dynamite books recently, a lot of licensed properties I've been having fun making my way through. I do enjoy Undiscovered Country over here. Some other miscellanies. I even have the Starman Compendium Volume 2 up on this first shelf. Do you see what I mean by a little bit of everything mix and match at this point? Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow, and Dark Knight Returns rounding out this shelf, ending strong here. Okay, for this next shelf, we're going to go ahead and call it my Superman Batman shelf. I'd start with the Superman Golden Age stuff, followed by the full John Byrne era Superman and these 4 standard size hardcovers. Then I have a lot of great collections that are essentially all Superman origin retellings, reimaginings, All-Star Superman, some Superman Earth 1, some stuff from the New 52, all really fun, at least in my mind. This shelf also has a lot of Batman, including the Batman One Bad Day box set that they released in the last year or two. I did do a very long review on that. If you're interested, you can find it on my channel. I do also have Batman the Night, Year One, some of Batman's Golden Age stuff, Batman Killing Time by Tom King, really like that. Have the whole Nightfall kind of era in paperback, and then a lot of just smaller paperbacks, you know, Batman Year 100, Batman the Cult, Batman Mad Love. Honestly, this is a really good shelf. As is this next shelf, in my opinion. This is where I try to go sort of chronologically, but it ends up a little bit messy. I have Batman Hush, some of the other Hush trade paperback kind of stuff, like Heart of Hush, things like that. I do have the deluxe edition of Batman Under the Red Hood. That was a really fun read. Then I have, I think, all of the Grant Morrison era in paperback or standard size hardcover and one oversized hardcover. Batman Black Mirror, love that book. A couple New 52 Batmans. I have an all-star Batman collection. Then I have the full Tom King Batman run in these oversized deluxe editions from the Rebirth era. Tynion's Batman run, the beginnings of Zdarsky's Batman run, and a couple miscellany at the end. Like the Batman Earth 1 stuff, along with the Batman White Knight books I've collected so far, which I have the first 2 and the spin-off Harley Quinn one. Okay, starting to get really messy with the next shelf. I do have all my Marvel Epic collections currently in the collection. Mostly Silver Surfer here, a little bit of Captain America, Punisher. I have a Modern Epic with the Agent Venom stuff here. Have a Scarlet Witch book, a Hawkeye run from Matt Fraction. Everyone knows that one. Infinity Wars randomly here. I have some Silver Age Flash. I love Silver Age Flash, probably my favorite Silver Age DC book. I have Jeff Johns Flash in paperback for the most part here. Flashpoint, Flashpoint Beyond. A couple Wonder Woman books, couple Green Lantern books in paperback. I do have my current Nightwing collection, which is a couple volumes from New 52 and some of the Tom Taylor stuff for the most part. I do have some DC Events, some of the Crisis books, and then I end this shelf with 2 Batman Jim Aparo books. On the next shelf, I get a bit more disorganized, if I'm honest with you. I have the Wedding of Cyclops and Phoenix. I have all of my Krakoa era oversized hardcovers and some of the other standard size paperbacks. I even think this shelf, I've got Superman the Warworld Saga. This is also the remainder of my Daredevil collection that's not in omnibus format. A lot of great paperbacks here like Daredevil Yellow, Batlin Jack. I have the whole Charles Soule run in paperback. I missed out on that omnibus. I do have the Moon Knight by Jeff Lemire. Earlier in the shelf, I think I forgot to mention the Invincible Iron Man by Matt Fraction and those deluxe, like, kind of oversized editions I have. I have Marvel 1602 here. A lot of little miscellaneous books. Definitely a really eclectic shelf. For my Krakoa books, obviously the main X-Men run is an omnibus, so that was earlier in the video, but I love how these look on the shelf, all the vibrant colors. More Krakoa, please. And the final row, we have my oversized hardcover editions like Fantastic Four Full Circle, Catwoman Lonely City, Harleen, Aquaman Andromeda. I have that Geiger Deluxe Edition. I have some other books like my Shazam, Flash Rebirth era. I got some oversized Superman like Camelot Falls, courtesy of Illuminati. Thank you again. I have a couple other Wolverine books here, like the Greg Rucka run in paperback, and wow, does that run need a reprint of some kind. I also have Civil War, a couple of the other sort of Marvel books here. In case you missed it, this is also where I have my Namor collection. I am a huge fan of the Submariner. I would love to get more of his collected editions, maybe some of the Epic collections, or that long out-of-print omnibus, I think of the Byrne era. And the last books I have on my shelf are the Stephen King kind of gunslinger era Dark Tower comics. Really love that stuff. I'm a big Stephen King fan, and to have those comics is a real treat. And that is my comic collection. I hope you enjoyed this quick tour. I was definitely nervous to put this together, but I think it turned out okay. I would love and welcome your feedback in the comments below. Is there any book you'd like to talk about or would like to see showcased on the channel more in the future? Let me know all of that. Thank you for watching. Share this video with a friend, and until next time, this has been the Comic Book Report. Please don't forget to leave your like, a comment, and maybe check out another video. Thanks everyone. Have a good one.